Tuesday, the 21st day of May 2019, when Uganda joined the rest of the world to commemorate a day in as far as culture is concerned. Hello there and welcome to News Tonight. First though, let's have a look at our top stories. In our news tonight, IPOD members resolved to review nomination fees. Cabinet amends the Registrar General Succession Act. KCCA passes ordinance to restrict street people. Cabinet approves 9 cities to host cultural centers as well. And in sports, Uganda falls to Namibia in ICC T20 Africa Region Final. Hello there and welcome once again, and thank you for choosing UBC TV as your channel of choice. We are coming to you live on air from Broadcast House here on Nile Avenue. On sign language, it is Mugalu Mohammed and I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Litwala Kadaga, has urged communities fighting over boundaries to embrace coexistence for a peaceful society. Kadaga challenges members of Parliament to preach peace amongst the various constituents. Now, this was during the launch of the Uganda chapter of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace at an event held here in Kampala. The event was also graced by the President of Universia Peace Federation, Catherine Origney.
I hope you will reflect on this proposal. I believe a 5th UN office on the Korean Peninsula, perhaps in the DMZ, Demilitarized Zone, with support of both Koreans, would go a long way toward establishing peace on this peninsula and towards peace in the Asia-Pacific region. In closing, I want to emphasize the importance of the role of parliamentarians. You represent the people. You are entrusted by the people with a great responsibility. If parliamentarians of the world join together in harmony and cooperation for the sake of peace, we can transform the current reality of our world, creating a world of joy, harmony, and lasting peace.
Parliamentary diplomacy has sometimes been ignored, but I think that once we have this vehicle, it's a channel through which we can promote that diplomacy. Our energies can be used to bridge the gap, even where the gaps exist at the level of the state. And you know that sometimes there are gaps at the state level, but I'm sure that with this vehicle, we can bridge it. We have oftentimes, as legislators, watched helplessly, impotently, and just spectated, because we had no way of engaging in dialogue. Of course, our country has gone through a lot, but I want to just remind ourselves of the need for peace and the risk of great loss if hostility and enmity were allowed among our communities. I therefore call upon our citizens who are struggling over boundaries and ethnic groupings to calm down, work together, coexist as they've done over time.
4, 3, 2, 1, yes. Congratulations, IEDP.
Speaker of Parliament Rebecca Litwala Kadaga ending that report there. Members of the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue, IPOD, have adopted a resolution to review nomination fees for political contestants in the country. IPOD chairperson, who doubles as Democratic Party President General Norbert Mao, says this is one of the routes towards embracing electoral reforms. In a joint communique following the closed-door summit, Mao says it was also resolved that High Court handles election petitions within 1 year after election.
Better late than never was the mood at Protea Hotel in Entebbe. The Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue Summit started late, with its chairperson, and summit organizers highlighting several issues of national concern.
We believe that democracy starts with dialogue. If you cannot dialogue with your competitors, it is difficult to compete with them fairly.
But still, the conduct of the security forces and their refusal in practice to adhere to basic guarantees of fundamental human rights, especially freedom of association and assembly, continues to foul the atmosphere of politics.
These are some of the concerns that could have partly formed the basis of discussion in the closed-door meeting that lasted about 3 hours. Upon return, the mood was characterized by optimism and a bit of reservation.
I think this is going to be the real test from our side, whether NRM is serious or it is not serious. If the regulations are implemented within those 2 months and we see them being put in force.
We recognize that there are many issues where we may never get agreement, but it is important as institutions which underpin and guarantee the democracy that we forge a way in which we can interact in a clear and sober manner and putting the interests of Uganda first.
In a joint communique, IPOD members made a number of resolutions. These were based on earlier recommendations to the summit, including public funding for political parties and public order management. Emphasis was also put on the question of independence in a multi-party political system, electoral system, and other electoral reforms.
By-elections shall be held only when an MP dies or resigns. Newly created constituencies and administrative units shall only hold elections in either a specified period, for example, within the months between May to July of any given year, or to hold such elections in the next election cycle. This is intended to avoid the costs and disruptive effect of over-electioneering.
President Museveni, on his part, welcomed the dialogue as a means to sustainable democracy, calling on other IPOD members to join the process.
So for me, when you call for dialogue, I will be there the following morning. If I don't want to dialogue when I'm in politics, I should go home and look after my cows. You cannot be in leadership and you say, I don't want to talk. You should be very careful because God can decide to make you not talk. If God doesn't want you to talk, He knows how to do it. Switches you off and you are just looking, you can't talk. I'm glad to meet you here, the leaders of DP, leaders of UPC, leaders of GEMA. We invite others also, like FDC. I don't know why they don't come, but that's up to them.
Museveni's commendation was in agreement with Norbert Maus, who earlier on had lashed at FDC for shunning IPOD even when it was a signatory to the umbrella.
Why would one be uncomfortable with partaking of a meal one has participated fully in preparing? In addition, all IPOD members receive support towards institution building. Currently, IPOD is running a 3-year support program funded by our partners, where each of the 5 IPOD member political parties will benefit to the tune of about 1 billion shillings. And I mean all the political parties receive this funding, including those who are absent at this summit.
The second IPOD summit is a follow-up to a series of discussions that started in the first summit of November 2018. In the 2019 summit, those in attendance included DP's President General Norbert Mao, GEMA's Muhammad Mayanja Chibirige, NRM's Yoweri Museveni, and UPC's President Jimmy Akena. However, Uganda's leading opposition political party, Forum for Democratic Change FDC, skipped the meeting. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Thanks, Henry Okrut, for that story there. And of course, dialogue is the best thing that can happen in as far as politics, modern politics, is concerned. Now, in its weekly Monday briefing, Cabinet amended a number of acts, including the Administrator General's Act, Succession Act, and the Estates of Missing Persons Management Act, Cap 159, among others. Now, these amendments are intended to align the Administrator General's Articles 32 and 33. Cabinet has also announced this year's 30th Heroes Day celebrations to take place at Kasanje Playgrounds in Kasanje Town Council, Wakiso District.
1. Cabinet noted that the celebrations marking the 30th Heroes Day anniversary will be held on Sunday, 9th June 2019, under the theme Celebrating the Courageous Heroes who brought peace and prosperity we're enjoying. 2. Approve the amendment of the Administrator General's Act, Cap 157, the Succession Act, Cap 162, the Estates of Missing Persons Management Act, Cap 159, the Administration of Assets, Small Estates and Special Provisions Act, Cap 156. The amendments are intended to 1. Align the Administrator General's Act to Articles 32, affirmative action in favor of marginalized groups, and 33, rights of women of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. 2, provide for the requirement for notice of application for letters of administration by widowers and widows be given to the Administrator General before applying to the High Court for grants to administer deceased spouses' estates.
Meanwhile, Kampala Capital City Authority (KCCA) has passed the 2019 Child Protection Ordinance with the aim of restricting the lives of street-related children, and protecting children who stay in Kampala and her suburbs. During an ordinary authority meeting, the Deputy Lord Mayor Hajat Sarah Kanyike said they have put penalties to people who give money to street children because this is what is sustaining them on the street.
A number of ordinances that include street trading and boda have been introduced for the first reading and sent to relevant committees for scrutiny. Although that of law enforcement was mentioned, it was not ready for the second reading. Instead, the Chairman, Legal Committee, KCCA Council, brought the amended Bill of Ordinance on Child Protection for the second reading, which was discussed at committee stage and passed by Council. This ordinance was arrived at following a survey by KCCA, which indicated that 40% of the population in Kampala are children who are increasingly going on street, hence falling prey to multiple hazards like sexual abuse, poor health conditions, prostitution and child labor.
Provided for a section to prohibit the use of mothers of these children to put the kids on the streets and start using them as a product to sell, to profiteer from these businesses, and we have put stringent fines to these penalties.
As the children stay on the streets, they get physical and moral damage that makes them engage in criminal activities. Now, in this ordinance, KCCA has put penalties for people who send the children on streets and criminalize their actions of trafficking.
Provided for a penalty for those that give residence to the street-connected children that go begging on the streets. And we have provided for 12 months imprisonment for that, or 400,000 fine. Provided that they should instead of profiteering from them, give them a board and resettle them as children, and not to live in conditions of adult people.
The Deputy Lord Mayor Hajat Sarah Kanyike says this ordinance is also to punish parents who neglect their responsibilities of bringing up their children and educating them.
Person who gives money, any person who gives items like food, water, is going to be penalized as far as this is concerned. Why we discourage this? Whenever you give something to this child, he has hope that even tomorrow someone is going to give him. But if all of us deny giving them things, then time will come, then we'll be able to know that there's no future on the street.
The ordinance provides for maximum penalties for culprits as provided for in the Local Government Act. I'm Nafka Farida, reporting in Kampala.
Now, the National Agricultural Research Organization, NARU, with support from the U.S. government, has commissioned a state-of-the-art laboratory geared at handling livestock-related diseases. Now, the laboratory will necessitate research and early detection of livestock diseases. Ivan Kawa reports.
The National Livestock Resources Research Institute Regional Biosecurity Diagnostic Laboratory has been operationalized after completion to handle livestock diseases. The lab stationed in Nache Sasawakiso district is capacitated to detect diseases and achieve accurate information in the livestock sector.
Without accurate and rapid diagnosis, it becomes very hard and very complicated to develop coherent and appropriate livestock health management intervention. So our capacity was constrained in the past in a rapid and accurate diagnosis.
A tune of 7 billion has been injected in this state-of-the-art laboratory to supplement the efforts NARO has undertaken towards research. Ugandan scientists are largely targeted to operate the facility, with more effort zeroed down to research on zoonotic diseases.
Attack or affect both humans and livestock. An example is brucellosis. So we are going to be able to use this facility to diagnose occurrences such that we are able to address them before they are out of reach. Then another disease we intended to look at is foot and mouth disease, which is a very important disease in this country, which is actually constraining or lowering productivity of the livestock sector.
Laboratory facilities like Naliri can help us analyze those threats so we can better know what we're facing and how to prevent and respond to them.
But most importantly, we are also going to look at highly infectious livestock diseases like anthrax. We are also going to be able to diagnose it and be able to work on it and address it before it goes out of hand.
And if necessary, treating the animals and people in our communities. All of these efforts require people, systems, and resources dedicated to this One Health concept.
The erection of this facility is part of the strong bilateral relations Uganda has with the U.S. Once health livestock is achieved, it shall be open for trade in other countries and specifically exporting livestock to U.S. under the African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA that allows sub-Saharan Africa, Uganda inclusive, to export over 6,000 products duty-free to the U.S. market. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News.
Kahwa there with that report there. Now, back home here, we're day 3 of the UBC Unseen Archive exhibition at the Uganda National Museum has seen former journalists during Idi Amin era share their experiences of the practice then. Now, key in the discussion was Honorable Aggrey Awori, who was the director of Uganda Television. Another highlight of the day was Idi Amin's son, Jafar Amin, who was taken on a guided tour of the collection by the curators. Samuel Senono has more on that.
A lot has been said and written about Idi Amin's presidency, but a story of how journalists practiced hasn't been shared widely. In a panel discussion moderated by Tony Owana, former journalists shared their candid experiences working with former President Idi Amin. Aggrey Awori, who was Uganda Television's director in the 70s, has many fond memories of President Idi Amin.
Obote was attending an alignment conference in Lusaka, and Amin walks in my studio and says, "I want to appear on TV." I said, "Now, Commander, we have to prepare the public. We have to tell them."
Was he asking for permission to appear, or letting you know that?
Literally said, like, "I'm walking to the studio." So I said, "Right now, Commander, we are broadcasting news. So we can't, everything's live in the studio." He said, he used to call me director. Can't be in Swahili. He said, "Kwenda kwa TV saa hii naongea."
Awori describes President Amin as a media-savvy person who wanted everything he did documented. Amin was also best known for his legion of titles, and every newscaster had to take note of them.
And you could omit one of them, and you're on air, you will find VS, you're going to be very safe or silly waiting for you outside.
Okay, thank you very much. And
just a moment, Bwana President. Let me, how he brought up those names. You have seen the pictures there when there were some Bazungus who were kneeling before him. Did you see those pictures? That's one of them. Now, what happened, he tricked those Bazungus to kneel before him. What he told them was when they were somewhere, he told them that in Africa, the big chiefs, in order to allow and appreciate any gesture from the outside elements, they were supposed to be talking to him when they were kneeling. And what was kneeling? So those people, unfortunately, knelt.
In the gallery section, it was a story of rekindling fond childhood memories as Jaffa Amin, the son to former President Idi Amin, was being taken through the collection.
So I was the village urchin amongst the president's first children. Of course, I'm his child, but for me, the whole thing was a wonderland. And my stepmother, who's the mother of Hussein Lumumba, he's very vocal on social media. He's there, Hussein Lumumba. They made them the wise men with Joseph and another Lumumba, a drawer. Then they gave Francis a drawer as Mary, and the doll. The doll had just been bought in Russia, and it was for Kide Amin. Then there's Machomingi Amin and Tileku Amin. So this is actually this picture represents the first time I entered my father's family. Yeah, that luxurious, formal setting from a village setting. So for me, this is a significant picture to me. You can see the sense of wonder. You can see somebody who's perceptive, but in a young body.
For Jaffa, every picture in this collection is rich and has many stories to it.
But look at Mustafa Adrisi, Kabisa Mbaliga.
I want to see Idris.
That's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. State Marshal. This is my favorite uniform of Mosaic. Huh? His favorite uniform.
The exhibition continues this Wednesday with an interaction with victims of Idi Amin's brutal regime. Samuel Senono, Ubc News.
Thanks, Samuel Senono, for that report there. Now, civil society organizations have blamed government for not fully involving the marginalized groups of people in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, as a result, civil society, in partnership with government, has launched a campaign dubbed Leave No One Behind as a means to fasten the achievements of Sustainable Development Goals. The Minister for General Duties, Mary Karoro Krut, welcomed the campaign and pledged to work together with the CSOs for the betterment of Uganda.
And therefore, it is my singular honor to relaunch the Tondeka Mabega campaign. And may God bless it.
This campaign, which civil society has dubbed Tondeka Mabega campaign, in other words, do not leave anyone behind. Nobody should be left behind. In the implementation and realization of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals are many. But in brief, when the UN passed them, the main core was that we should have a world where there's no hunger, where there's no poverty, where there's equality, where you have gender equality. There are many, there are 17. So when we talk about this campaign, is very, very important, because whatever we do, whether as government or civil society or as individuals, ask yourself, which sustainable development goal am I looking at?
Sustainable development goals. These are goals that are supposed to be for all of us across the world, to say that there are a number of development initiatives that we should achieve as the world. So for us as civil society, what we did is that immediately we got out of New York after the launch, which actually was presided over by the President of Uganda himself. We decided to come home and start a campaign around how do we ensure that no one is left behind.
Now, non-tariff barriers are still a hindrance to trade in the East African region. Now, out of the known 62 trade barriers, 47 have been resolved, and Eastern African member states are still struggling to remove the remaining 15 in order to ease movement of goods and services.
Non-trade tariffs are conditions that restrict free movement of goods or services. East African Community member states are still struggling to eliminate the non-tariff barriers to trade. This was revealed by the Minister for East African Community Affairs, Chirunda Chivejinja, during the presentation of the NRM Manifesto Week.
Out of the 62 non-tariff barriers reported to Council, 47 entities were withdrawn. We are working as a region to remove the remaining 62, it's about 25 or 70, which are remaining, which means we are already ahead with our promises.
As the East African community continues to see that non-tariff barriers are removed to facilitate trade, efforts are also underway to have a common currency. Already there is a protocol for the establishment of the East African Monetary Union that provides for the creation of 4 institutions that include the East African Monetary Institute, the East African Statistics Bureau, the East African Surveillance and Enforcement Commission, and the East African Financial Services Commission.
The bill for the establishment of these 4 institutions have been approved and are different approval processes. The East African Monetary Institute bill was passed by.
On infrastructure development, 2 major projects that include the construction of crude oil pipeline from Hoima in Uganda to Tanga Port in Tanzania and the development of an oil refinery in Hoima have been approved by the East African Community member states. However, there has been delay in the construction of these projects.
Because for you who are very patient, you think this has delayed. But you know, we have studied some of these people. Why is it that all African countries where oil has been discovered, and it is a hot sea, but they ended up being the port. So we are very, very, very cautious. And we think we have got at least group of people who know something about oil. We have turned out to be with the first country in the whole world with a
Minister Chirunda Chivejinja ending that report there. Now let's look at some news pertaining to what's coming very soon in June, and that's about the Uganda matters. And every 30th of May, Christians make pilgrimage to the ancestral home of Ambrosio Kibuuka at Tamu village in Mityana municipality. Now, Ambrosio Kibuuka is one of the 3 Ugandan martyrs whose ancestral home is in Ichinda Mityana diocese.
Ambrosio Chibuka was a Muganda born in Singo County and, just like his brother Achili Chiwanuka, enrolled for catechism and was baptized on the 16th of November 1885 by Father Laudel Mapera after the death of Joseph Mukasa Bali Kudembe. Chibuka, a name of the tribal god who was shot out of the cloud by the Banyoro, was burnt alive on the 3rd of June of 1886 at Namgongo at the age of around 17 or 18. Tam village, located along Kampala-Mityana Highway 38 miles, is a famous historical ancestral home of Ambrosio Chibuka, one of the 3 Ugandan martyrs born in the area. Ambrosio Chibuka was a renowned drum maker in the Kabaka's palace. Every 30th of May, pilgrims from various areas within and outside Uganda, led by the Bishop of Chiinda-Mityana Diocese, Dr. Joseph Anthony Ziwa, make pilgrimage to Tamo, the ancestral home of Ambrosio Chibuka, where they constructed the historical church in his memory. At this historical place, the father to Ambrosio Chibuka, Mzee Kisule, who died before he was baptized, was laid to rest at this area, and upon his grave, the cross was horizontally placed as a symbol to distinguish those who died before baptism from those who died after baptism. At this village stands the ageless Muvule tree, under whose shade Ambrosio Chibuka, the drum maker, used to carry out his craft. This place was thus named Embuga ya Mujaguzo. This place is looked after by Christian volunteers who always clean the site. It attracts tourists from all over the world, as Nabagala Josephine explains.
N'abanfa nga nfiiridde eddiini sijja kwesibira ekirizi n'agigaana naddayo mu lubiri era waayita ekiseera kitono ekigendo ky'okutta abajulizi bwe kyatuuka naye ne kimutwaliramu. Kati ekiwe muzeeyo ono bw'awulira nti omwana we bamukoze eki bamusse, n'asooka anyijjira nnyo muganda we n'agamba, n'omanyi omwana wange, nina omwana omu, n'omanya nti eri bagenda kutta abantu, n'otofuba na kulondoola mwana wange butattirwa mu lubiri, kati nsigadde siina na mwana mulenzi mbu. Yasooka n'anyiiga.
Religious leaders, especially catechists, whom we interviewed include Emmanuel Chijambu and Bule Gerald, who told us that the martyrs are their role models in Christianity.
Okunywera mu ddiini abo bakiyigayiza kizze oba kufa ng'olina okufa olw'okubeera eddiini esesi kuddaawo kujebeera nti ate olinnyo eno n'ebyo oteeka okunywerera ku Katondawo, Katondawo n'akuwa amaanyi okusobola okumunywerirako okutuusa okufa ng'abajulizi bano bwe baakola, era kye tulabirako ekikuba abajulizi baffe bano.
Ne bakwatagana ne bagenda mu Kiyinda, baalinga mu Kiyinda balinawo olusiisira lwabwe, baalinga balinawo bayigirangamu okola okulaba nti babasomesezangamu eddiini empolampola awo. Kati awo eddiini awo mulumba n'amagali ne luka baana ba kintu nga bali wamu mu Kiyinda nga balina engeri gye basomamu eddiini mu ngeri nga babayigiriza abayingawo nga babayigiriza.
The parish priest of Chiinda-Mityana Cathedral Parish, Reverend Father Stephen Lusiba, commended believers for making it a habit to converge at all the ancestral homes of the martyrs in the diocese.
We are so proud of them that at least we saw them. They lived on this very soil of Chiinda-Mityana, here in Singo, so they are our models in faith. We don't regret. We are very proud of our martyrs in this place of Mityana.
Father Lusiba also reminded Christians before making pilgrimage to Namugongo on the 3rd June to converge at the home of Ambrosio Chibuka. It is noted that Chiinda-Mityana Catholic Diocese Church was built with 3 arches representing the 3 martyrs of this diocese, including Ambrosio Chibuka, Noah Mawagali, and Matia Mulumba. Salongo Fred Kasivante compiled the story for UBC.
Of course, that is one of the stories here at UBC Newsroom, where we count down to the 3rd of June, and the journey to martyrdom still continues. We'll be giving you stories up until the 3rd of June. to Makerere University now, where Makerere University has invited Belgium to support its agricultural college to enhance development through skilling and technology advancement. Now, this appeal was made during the visit by the officials from the Belgium Embassy to Makerere University, Kabanyoro Agricultural Institute, as we hear in this story.
Makerere University Institute of Kabanyoro is one of the government agricultural hubs that skills students and the public in agriculture in the country. Now, the university seeks funding from the Belgium government to help equip the institute with more machinery to compete favorably.
The visitors from Belgium, the Belgian embassy in Kampala, was to show them what we are capable of doing as an agricultural engineering unit, especially in skills development, and what we lack, such that they can help us in terms of capacity building, in terms of, because we studied in Belgium, we know what they have.
Professor Banada made this appeal during the visits by the officials from Belgium Embassy at Makerere University.
Our ideas were about, first of all, developing our buildings, especially the building where we sit and the engineering workshop. And at that time, when we talked to them at the embassy, they wanted to come specifically and see the agricultural engineering buildings, what is there, what is available.
Belgium First Secretary, Deputy Head of Cooperation, Alexandra Brex, said that his country has a 5-year program focusing on education and health, in addition on teacher training and skill vocational institutions, promising support for Makerere.
Because Belgium, in the field of education in Uganda, is very active in skilling, so in the whole technical and vocational training, which we think is a very important asset for this country, for a very young country such as Uganda, to invest in its young generation, young people, to be able to develop their skills that will fit the labor market.
This visit at Kabanyoro aims at expanding the relationship between Makerere University and Belgium, as well as understanding the operations of the institute. However, the institute calls for an independent budget from government to enable them repair and procure new engineering equipment.
Now, over 20,000 students are sitting for the Uganda Business and Technical Examinations (UBTEB) across the country with a strict caution against malpractice. Addressing the media, the Executive Secretary UBTEB, Onespas Owesije, said they have dispatched over 6,000 invigilators to supervise the exercise.
The 2019 Uganda Business and Technical Examinations have been dominated by females. The Executive Secretary UBTEB, Onesmas Owesije, attributed the increase to the standards that are to be used for international certification.
The international certification is a new phenomenon which comes along with globalization. That if a student finishes in Uganda and he goes to work in another country, it should be comparable. It should be knowing that this level of qualification is compared to this level of qualification. So what we have done, we are working on our standards, and by end of June we are going to have these standards in place, and then we shall go out to look at other international certification agencies.
Tough measures deterring students from engagement of examination malpractices have also been put in place.
Corrosion to cheat the examinations, smuggling of unauthorized materials into the examinations, programmable calculators, mobile phones, we cancel the whole semester. Then if we find that you have written on the question paper, which is also against the regulation, the examination regulations, that one we shall first give it a caution. We shall give it a caution. But the worst is for those who we get you this semester, then you come back another semester, we get you. We shall suspend you for the whole academic year. Then if you come for the third time and you appear that you have been involved again for the third time, we shall disqualify from all the examinations of UBTEB. That means now your future is not okay, and we shall make sure we put in a system to make sure that you don't go and start joining other institutions hiding your identity.
The 16th Uganda Business and Technical Examinations have started with theoretical exams. Sudat Kai reporting. The 2019 Uganda
Now, government is to build 9 cultural centers in different regional towns in a bid to encourage Ugandans to appreciate their cultural diversity. According to Peace Mutuzo, the Line Minister for Culture under the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, government passed the move to elevate some regional towns to city status, out of which will host the proposed cultural centers. This was revealed during celebrations to mark the World Culture Day that were hosted at the Uganda National Cultural Centre, commonly known as the National Theatre. Dorcas Kimono gives us more.
Uganda has a rich cultural diversity on top of different languages spread across the country, an asset that both government and private sector players are working tooth and nail not to let go. In that direction, government is set to build cultural centers in 9 selected regional towns to offer platforms for nurturing and maintaining different cultural practices across the country. According to the Line Minister, Peace Mutuzo, government has for starters allocated about 56 billion shillings to institute cultural centers that will, among others, host theatres, auditoriums and learning centers.
Yesterday in the cabinet we passed 9 cities, and within each of these cities we are expecting to have a theatre, a cultural center, where performances and other attributes of culture can be easily captured. But we also think we should get a big library.
This was during events to mark the World Culture Day that was hosted at the National Theatre in Kampala. Professor Maria Kistoka Sule presented a paper on the importance of heritage preservation in developing countries like Uganda. He categorically singled out the current education system, which he described as foreign, imposed to bias Ugandans about their origin, before suggesting that government should work towards decolonizing the education sector.
Current education system, which emphasizes Western value, development. Government does not speak.
Government to invest more in such talents, but also research to keep indigenous languages and practices alive. However, in response, Minister Mutuzo reminded Ugandans on the need to be on the same footing globally now that everything is for the global village.
With the technology that is coming on, with the rocket science that is changing and shifting things, with the development that we had to cope up with, there is no way we would fail to get to appreciate and understand other people's culture. That's what diversity is really all about.
It was at this point that she earmarked government's intentions to collaborate with other countries regionally for concerted efforts against FGM and other negative practices in areas prone to such demeaning acts.
So we are thinking of some area in Kwen and another area maybe in Karamoja. We shall find the suitable location. There are partners who are coming up to support us. All the fixtures, the fittings, the sound systems are already in Uganda. All we are lacking is the money to establish it, and we have already made our indication in the budget framework. Once we have the resources, we shall be able to erect it, and the ICT, we have already made an application to get our signals so that we are able to get those radio stations.
This comes at a time when the national broadcaster is still grappling with huge operational costs to keep Rotore Radio, situated in Karamoja but broadcasting in most languages of northeastern region, on air. This year's Culture Day was marked on the theme Uganda's rich cultural diversity, opportunities for social development. Dorcas Kimono and Daniel Mugoya, UBC TV News.
Business News is up next here on News Tonight after this short break.
Every dream has a challenging journey. Ours began in 1998 with a mission to drive the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda. We created structures to champion the dream. We've evolved, made discoveries, supported great minds, empowered Ugandans, and fostered a vibrant culture, enabling communication for all. Down the years, we've created memories and networks, uniting generations, and building great partnerships. Together, we can go even further. UCC, celebrating 20 years of achievements.
Let's talk business now. And the Uganda Wildlife Research and Training Institute has signed a memorandum of understanding with Kent State University of USA to establish a mutually beneficial wildlife conservation research and pedagogical relationship. And in a related development, a delegation of Nigerian tourism operators is in Uganda, courtesy of Uganda Tourism Board, to experience Uganda's religious heritage that comes with Martyrs' Day come 3rd of June, and also establish tourism ties between Uganda and Nigeria.
Under the Ministry of Tourism offices, the Memorandum of Understanding between Uganda Wildlife Research and Training Institute and Kent State University aims at establishing linkages through student exchange programs, exchange of academic and research personnel to widen the tourism knowledge base, among others.
The key salient issues in this understanding is that we are going to develop research proposals, we are going to have study exchange programs between both the teaching staff and the students. Before you came in, Honorable Minister, we were talking about having at least one person to go to Kent State University from among the staff of UWRTI to make sure they become experts in environmental and wildlife educational programs.
The program has been launched with 4 students from Kent State University in a joint internship at Queen Elizabeth National Park to engage in testing different parameters ranging from dung beetle density, bird and animal species richness, water turbidity along Kazinga Channel, and plant species regeneration.
Are being challenged on the two fronts. First, globally, the impact of climate change has been out of proportion in affecting the habitats of wildlife. We critically wanted research so that we make decisions based on scientific research-based information.
Uganda Wildlife Research and Training Institute is mandated by Government of Uganda to coordinate, undertake and promote applied research and training to support sustainable wildlife management. In a related development, Uganda Tourism Board has hosted Nigerian tour operators to establish tourism linkages between Uganda and Nigeria, besides visiting Namugongo prior Martyrs' Day come 3rd June. Ikechi Uko, a Nigerian tour operator, shared some insights with local operators on how to brand African tourism.
We have been programmed not to know other Africans, and because we don't know Africans, we fear Africans. And because we fear Africans, you hate people for not knowing why. So we've been programmed. Every African has either had colonialism or slavery. So there's a fear within us, and we've been programmed to see ourselves that way. So what we are doing now is try to break those old stereotypes.
He also shared his thoughts about the importance of a country owning a national carrier.
But you can't run a national airline and expect to compete like Ethiopia, no. I'll quote what South African Minister of Tourism said. We make billions of dollars from tourism. We make billions of dollars from trade. We lose money in our airline. But we make more money from trade and tourism than we lose to our airline. And without our airline, our trade and tourism will suffer.
The local tourism operators also shared some insights on why it is important to market Ugandan tourism to its citizens.
When we talk about Ugandan tourism, people come with this mindset that tourism is a Muzungu thing. It's all white, so it's a new concept. We have to deal with a lot of demystifying what they think about tourism.
We need to love Uganda, build Uganda, and also go and tour Uganda, because most people, when you think about holiday, you think about Mombasa, you think about Dubai, you think about going to all those exotic places, but we have all these places here.
The tourism sector is currently operating on the guidelines of the 2014-2024 Tourism Master Plan, of which it has vastly achieved. That is to say, the success of the sector is highly dependent on local and global strategic partnerships to thrive. For UBC Business, Wadulo Makanold.
And of course, strategic partnerships can go a long way in boosting tourism. And thank you so much, Wadulo, for that report there. Meanwhile, government has hailed Coca-Cola Beverages Africa for its increased investment in the country. Representing President Yoweri Museveni at the launch of a new bottling line manufacturing in Namamvi, the Minister for Trade and Industry and Cooperatives, Amelia Chambade, said the investment is a strong demonstration and commitment to the development of Uganda despite tough economic conditions.
Trade Industry and Cooperatives has commissioned the second Rwenzori pure water bottling line in Namamvi Industrial Park. Representing President Yoweri Museveni at the event, Chambade urged the investors to support Buy Uganda, Build Uganda Bubu policy for equitable and sustainable growth of Uganda's economy.
We are, however, as a ministry, committed in the development of a competitive and export-led private sector. We are committed to our policies like Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, which you are religiously complying with. I thank you so much for that.
With the water bottling sector attracting more local and foreign investors annually, the need for enhancing quality and standards by the regulator and the investors was emphasized. The new bottling line cost a whopping $10 million, an equivalent of 37 billion shillings to set up.
It's also a philosophy to employ local people, and you can see all the people that spoke in that video were Ugandans. It's people we help educate and provide a career opportunity and help them to satisfy their ambitions.
However, the investors are still pushing for a favorable tax regime to spur investment and innovation.
And gracefully last year in 2018, you've given us a reduction, and I think she deserves a round of applause for that. 1% that you gave us reduction for, we put back into the business. We did not take that money and put it in the bank.
The investment commitment of Coca-Cola Beverages Africa Uganda runs 3 subsidiaries bottling Coca-Cola products and mineral water. Dennis Igor for UBC Business.
Now, vanilla farmers have been asked to desist from harvesting vanilla beans before its prime time in order for them to have good monetary returns. Now, this follows complaints by key actors about the deteriorating quality of vanilla beans for export. Minister of State for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Christopher Kibanzanga, has come up with specific guidelines on harvest, as we hear from our reporter, Hilda Mutanyi.
Vanilla is one of the high-value crops grown in 25 districts of Uganda, mainly in the central, eastern and some parts of western Uganda. It is used to add flavor to drinks, dairy products, sweet foods, cosmetics, medical, and may also be applied in pharmaceutical industries. While it fetches high returns, the global cash crop may lose value due to poor handling. Minister of State for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Christopher Kibanzanga, cautions farmers to stop harvesting immature beans.
I am directing my ministry staff to be vigilant on this, especially the agricultural police in collaboration with Operation Wealth Creation.
Minister Kibanzanga has issued guidelines on how and when to start harvesting the beans.
And we shall expect farmers to only harvest grade A, which we refer to as ripe mature beans.
Kibanzanga notes that vanilla has proved to be a sustainable and profitable crop for farmers in Uganda, but currently the international market is threatened by poor quality stemming from immature vanilla. Commissioner, Crop Production, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Alex Wakuba says culprits will be punished.
Because vanilla is a high-value crop, it tends to attract illicit activities and malpractices, such as theft of immature vanilla, which is sold, which is put on the market. And this one compromises the quality of Ugandan vanilla on the local market, but also on the international market. And this is very, very unfortunate for us.
One of the exporters of vanilla, Haji Aligawesa Sekalala, advises that the person should harvest vanilla when it has reached full maturity. Mtonyi Hilda, UBC.
Thanks, Hilda, for that report there. And the Uganda shilling is still struggling slightly against selected local and international currencies. But to get a clearer picture, let's have a look at the money market report. Welcome back. Let's have a look now at what's happening in the world of sport, and we begin with some rather bad news in as far as Ugandan sport is concerned, specifically cricket, where Uganda has missed a glorious chance of boosting its qualification hopes at the ongoing ICC Men's T20 World Cup Africa Region Final. Uganda fell to Namibia in a game played at Chambogo Oval. John Ban Sentamu reports.
Facing a daunting task to undo Namibia's 167 runs, Uganda in the yellow jersey started their innings brilliantly, with Zephania Arinaitu and Ham Kayondo combining for 30 runs inside the first 3 overs. But when Arinaitu was caught by Namibian captain Gerard Erasmus after a Christie Vion delivery, trouble loomed, and indeed disaster followed when, after a further 11 runs, Ham Kayondo was sent for an early berth. In almost quick succession, Arnold Otwani, Roger Mokasa, the national crown, Deus Muhumuza, Francois Subuga, and finally Riyazat Shah fell, with Uganda still stuck and short of requirements at 125 runs.
This was always going to be a big and a tough game for us, but we were confident we were coming for a win. We started so well, but gave them a chance in the middle, and they did well in the middle to get them to 160. And with our batting, losing 2 wickets in the power play, always you will always be chasing the game, considering you're chasing a big score of 160. But batting-wise, we didn't do so well, but we expect to bounce back.
Uganda's main tormentor was eventual man of the match Carl Bickenstock, whose 59 runs off 28 balls in the middle order tilted the tie in the Namibians' favour. His scores were supplemented by Christie Viong's 33 off 30 balls, while Jean Frink scored 19 runs off 10, not out. Uganda's highest scorer was Riyazat Shah with 19 runs off 16 balls, including 2 sixes, while both Arinaitu and Kayondo scored 15 runs respectively. In other games, Kenya beat Ghana and Nigeria outclassed Botswana. In action at the tournament, whose winner progresses to the final World Cup qualifier in United Arab Emirates, continues Wednesday. Uganda plays Kenya, Namibia dates Botswana, and Nigeria entertains Ghana. John Barnes, Sentamu, reporting.
Federation of Uganda Football Associations, FUFA, through its respective technical committees, has released squads to represent the country at upcoming tournaments. National soccer team, the Uganda Cranes head coach Sebastian Desabre has named a tentative 28-man squad for the Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Egypt next month. The team that comes in Abu Dhabi next week is a mix of local and foreign players, with a couple of them, ironically, not attached to any club. Now the team includes